On this episode of Viral Rewind, we're looking at the Diamond DOS virus. So let me switch over to that second floppy drive now, because that's where our Diamond virus program is, along with some of our sacrificial programs we're going to use. So when we run Diamond, let me make sure I spell it correctly. It's now been loaded into memory. Diamond is a memory resident virus. So again, once you load it, it resides in memory, and then this is where it's going to run its parasitic infection routine from. It's going to infect .com and .exe files as we run them. But anyway, let's go into the infection and get some of the files infected and see how it does that. So, let's check XCopy. So XCopy is 17,087 bytes on its own. We run it. Now you can hear that the floppy drive is working some, and that kind of gives you an idea that it's doing more than just reading data. But when we look at XCopy again, after the infection, you notice XCopy's file size has not changed. But if you look at the overall free space on the disk, it has gone down. So it still has infected it, but why can't we see the change in file size? Well, this Diamond variant is a stealth variant. What we mean by that? It appends its code within the free space in the program that it's infecting. So XCopy's been infected. So let's try format. That's a .com file. Again, you can hear the floppy drive writing data. It's not just reading the format .com. It's actually writing to it. So if we look at it again, our free space has gone down even though the file size hasn't changed. So again, it's inserted its code within format.com. Let's look at the NLS function program. And let's infect that. Again, we've lost free space, haven't changed the file size. Let's see. Now, the thing about Diamond is it's a potentially destructive virus, except it doesn't actually work, at least on any of the variants that I know of. The actual destructive payload of the virus doesn't work. And the payload occurs on any Tuesday of any month of any year. So, if we change this to the 21st of July, 1992, that will be a Tuesday. If I run an infected program like XCopy, well actually, before that, let me show you something. In drive A here, I have a diskette full of files, full of EXEs and .com files. This is a sacrificial disk, if any program was to write something. So, what Diamond is supposed to do is, on the Tuesday, when an infected file is run, it's supposed to format the C drive. Now everyone knows the C drive is usually your hard disk, but there's an error in the programming of Diamond. What it actually does is attempt to format the third floppy drive in the system, but there is a little something interesting on that. So let me run XCopy, and let me bring the camera down. So we just had these two floppies in range. Now we know XCopy is infected. We've changed the date to a Tuesday. Okay, you noticed how XCopy ran from the second floppy drive, drive B, but then you saw that it momentarily switched over to A and started doing something. Just a little bit, but not a lot. So, what I'm thinking it's doing is we're reading from drive B, and it's looking for the third floppy, which doesn't exist. So it goes 1, 2, but I think what's happening is it's going 3. It's looping back on itself, and it's going back to drive A. This is just a supposition, but if I look at drive A, look at our files, the disk still works, nothing's been damaged on it. At least I don't think anything's been damaged on it. But from the apparent look at it, it doesn't look like it's done anything, even though it has attempted to do something. Now, if we look at something else like, what else did we infect? Format.com. You notice when we run a .com file, it doesn't execute it that way. The .com file just reads from drive B. If we run xcopy, which is an executable, you notice it actually does do that. It switches over to the first floppy momentarily. That's just my guess. I don't know if it's correct, but it does seem like Diamond is still trying to do something in the floppy, but again, it just fails at it. So it doesn't have a destructive payload. It does, however, have a visual payload that Diamond is pretty much named for. Now, I can't use the 60 Hz refresh rate that you're seeing right now in DOS. Let me bring this back up here. I won't be able to use the 60 Hz refresh program that allows DOS to display all nicely like it is now, so it is going to be flickering at you, but the Diamond visual payload doesn't seem to work with the 60 Hz refresh rate for some reason. It prefers DOS's higher refresh rate of 70 to 75 Hz that it normally runs at. So I'm going to restart the computer and we'll get to that visual payload. Now, let me go back to the second floppy drive and bring up our directory listing. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to run one of our files that we infected. So like for instance, we know that we infected xcopy. Now, the way Diamond's visual payload works is it works on the system clock. So if the system time is at 0 minutes and it's plus or minus 14 seconds of that 0 minute, the visual payload triggers. So what that means is, as an example, if it's between 1:59 and 46 seconds and 2 hours, 0 minutes, and 14 seconds, then the visual trigger will payload because it's within that window, 0 minute window, plus or minus 14 seconds of it. So what we'll do is we've got Diamond loaded into memory. So now what we're going to do is adjust the system time so we can trigger that visual payload. So we go in there, it thinks it's 3:38:35. So let's change it to 3:59:30. So when the seconds on there reach 46, it will reach the threshold in which Diamond's visual payload will trigger. So we'll see that here in a few seconds. And there goes the visual payload. As you see, it starts off as one big colorful diamond, and then it splits apart into a whole bunch of much smaller colorful diamonds. And as you see, as they bounce around the screen there, they're clearing away the characters. And it stays that way if you do something like another directory command. You still can't see it, but you can see that the diamonds are getting stuck in place where the characters used to be. But we can get rid of this temporarily with a clear screen command. See, I brought that back. Do the directory listing, but again, as long as Diamond's visual payload is going, it's just going to keep wiping away the characters displayed on the screen. So that's pretty much it for the Diamond DOS virus. There's all the characters.